Hello everyone. I am dwarfed by a very large box, and you can see what it is. It's Tales of Arise. What's going on, you ask? Britta, that came out back in September last year, you're saying? Well, yes. Have I had the box since then? No. As usual, I have a bit of a story to tell. What happened was that pre-orders went live for the Tales of Arise Collector's Edition sometime in 2021. I can't remember the exact month. And I obviously thought very hard about it because I am a big Tales fan. I know there aren't any videos about Tales games on my channel, not so far, although I've been working on one on Berseria for quite some time now. So I was very tempted despite the rather high price. And you know what? I missed the pre-order window. Something or other was happening in those few days, and it just completely flew out the window of my mind. By the time I got to the order page, they were all gone. The allocation for New Zealand had not been very big, and they were all snapped up like that. So there's a fair number of Tales fans here in New Zealand. You can tell they are true fans because none of those pre-order copies ever really turned up on our New Zealand trading website, which is sort of a bit like eBay overseas. The people who pre-ordered were true fans, real collectors, real gamers, not scalpers. I was obviously disappointed. On the other hand, I heaved a bit of a sigh of relief, or rather my bank account did, and I thought, oh well, you win some, you lose some, that's life, you know. I was going to get the game anyway, so... A friend of mine, a very long-standing friend, my oldest gaming friend here in New Zealand, noticed my disappointment. Over the next few months, he made a really valiant effort to try and track down a copy of the collector's edition. But they were all overseas, and whenever we looked at any option, the cost of importing, the extra tax on top, the shipping arrangements for a large box like that, nightmare, would have cost easily double the retail price. It was just a no-go area really. So I appreciated that very much. Thank you, Jonathan. I thought, well, that's it. I happened to be talking to my very friendly and supportive staff at EB Games one day and mentioned that I'd missed the pre-order and asked them if they ever got cancellations of pre-orders in. And they said rarely, especially for an item like this. It would be very rare for someone to cancel, but they would keep an eye out. I thought, well, that chance is close to zero. I didn't place great hope in that. But near the release date in September, I talked to them again, and they said, no, so far we haven't seen anything, but bear in mind that shipments are delayed. And Tales of Arise physical editions are not going to arrive in New Zealand until sometime in October. The official release date for New Zealand says 1st of October, but I think it was later than that. One day, it must have been in October, I happened to be talking to the manager, and he said to me, Britta, I think there has been a cancellation. I will check it. And when I was back home, I got a phone call, and he said there is one box up in Auckland. That's a cancelled order for Tales of Arise Collector's Edition. I'm gonna grab it straight away for you, get it shipped down to us immediately, secure it before anybody else notices it. That's exactly what he did, and it was here within the week. Poodlepa went down to the shop to pick it up, and I was wondering what condition the box might be in, because shipping can sometimes be rough these days, and especially for a large item like this. And because, as you know, with EB games, they don't for some reason have that protective wrapping around a lot of the collector's editions. So, but overall, while there is some minor scuffing around the edge at the top, it's in pretty good condition. Yeah. When Poodlepa came home with that box, I'd almost not believed it until that moment. I thought he's going to come home and say, oh, it was all a huge mistake, an error, there's nothing there. I didn't believe it until he put the box down in front of me and said, here it is. And there was a little extra. The manager remembered, he said he'd just been in the back room and seen something while he was clearing up. It was this little package. I'll open it up. Apparently that was maybe a little special bonus extra for EB customers to go with the collector's edition. I'm not quite sure, but that's what I understood anyway. So here are two very small, quite dainty little enamel pins. And of course I don't know yet what they represent, because I have deliberately not read up a lot about the game and its background story yet. But I believe it is set in two separate kingdoms or empires, and I'm just guessing that might be the emblems for them. Anyway, it's really nice. You know how I like my pins. That was lovely that he remembered that. So while the box is not wrapped in cellophane and not much taped down round the corners or anything, you'd think that between October and now I would have had a look inside. And you know, I've been so flat out busy, and I had the box tucked away somewhere in a corner. No, I haven't had a look inside. I do like to keep that for unboxings, because unboxings have to be real, authentic. I'll have to get the box down from the table to manhandle it, a woman handle it. Doing it here on the table is going to be not practical. As you can see, as you open up the flap at the top, there's a sturdy box inside. So this is the outer box. And I see Poodlepa must have slipped the receipt when he paid for it inside the box. So I can now check the date when all this happened. And it says 15th of October. So this is just the outer box. And it's got, as usual, a back panel with all the information about the game. There's that emblem again on the side, the front cover, with, as I understand it, the two protagonists of the game, Alfin and Shion. So let's grab the real box now. And there's more Alfin and Shion on the top of the box. Okay, lift off. So we got excellent cardboard dividers inside, keeping everything in place. So a very stylish, very artful cover, and we'll certainly have a look at that art book in a moment. Here's of course the game. And as you can see, I've got the Region 4 edition, which is, as you know by now, Oceania, Australia, New Zealand, and a few other associated territories. And there is, as you'd expect with the collector's edition, some extra DLC included with the game. And here is a steelbook. The text logo on the back. And I've seen this style of steelbook finish a lot recently, and it's a very darkish and matte finish. And inside is the soundtrack. And I will, as usual, take a couple of tracks off and use them for background and highlights, so when you hear any music it will be from this OST. Okay, so that lifts off now, the cardboard insert. Inside is another box, so I'll have a bit more cardboard box wrangling to do. The boxes all fit very tightly inside each other, which is very good from a perspective of safety and storage, but it makes the job of getting them out a bit more difficult. So this is the special item for the collector's edition, and it's the figurine set. Before I open that up, let's just talk a little bit about Tales of Arise, because it's such a recent release and because it actually got a lot of attention. I won't need to say an awful lot about it because I think you're all well aware that it proved reasonably popular, got good reviews, and even won Best RPG at the Game Awards. So Arise is the 17th entry in the Tales of series. It was originally meant for a release in 2020, but there were delays, not unusual ever since COVID, of course. The previous Tales game, the 16th entry, was Berseria, and that released in the West in January 2017. As I understand it, the team for this Tales game had set themselves the task to revitalise the Tales franchise, and Minoru Iwamoto, who was one of several people working on Zestiria and Berseria, returned both as a character designer and art director. I always think it's good to have that consistency, especially where design is concerned. The game was built using the Unreal Engine 4, and of course Tales games are known for their combat system, which is referred to as the linear motion battle system, always has been. They change it somewhat from game to game, but the essentials are always there. My very first Tales game was on the PS3. I think I might have even mentioned it in my video about how I got into gaming, and that was Tales of Graces F. And that was a fantastic introduction to Tales games. And I love Graces to this day. I'm actually intending to replay it. And I was really interested when I read that Tales of Graces was actually cited as an inspiration for Tales of Arise, referring specifically to the combat. And this was a reference I picked up from an article under the IGN umbrella by Kat Bailey. I have to say straight up, if you think I'll be able to have a video about the Arise game within the next 2 to 4 weeks, no, that's not gonna happen, I'm sorry. I don't know when I'll be able to fit it in. It joins a long queue of games that I want to play and finish and make videos about. This will obviously take a while putting together, so have a break, put on the kettle, and I'll see what I can manage. I hope you've had a nice tea break. It wasn't too bad putting it together, but because it's quite a small and compact figurine, I had to be a bit careful. The huge long pink ponytail came separately, that had to be attached. And 3 separate sword arms had to be attached. I'm quite grateful that the figure is quite small because I'm beginning to run out of space. It is very detailed, which is great. It looks pretty impressive. It's not quite on the same level as a special separate figure by a company like COPPA or Alter. You can see it in like the facial detail isn't quite up there. But then again, you have to consider, especially these days, the cost of figures has absolutely soared. For a figurine set that comes with a collector's edition, I think it's pretty good. I remember I got one for Sword Art Online Hollow Realization that came with the 2-figure set, which are quite nice, but not really of this kind of quality. But I expect there will be more figures forthcoming for Tales of Arise characters. I wouldn't be surprised if we'll see a few more in years to come being made. The contrast between the metal grey armour and the blue on the male character side and the predominantly white and pink on the female character side always makes a really nice combination in terms of colour. So I would say in terms of a collector's edition it is pretty streamlined. It has the essentials of a game, art book and OST, and then the extra is just one item, the figure set. No extraneous little bits and bobs here and there, no, just pretty clean cut. Very nice box design. So this is the contents of the art book, a total of 64 pages. You open up the page and it looks spectacular. I do like it when there's some text accompanying the pictures, and that is the case here. As you'd expect, there's details on the characters, obviously. Showing some of the design features. And the same for Shion. And the other characters also have their individual pages. Rin Well, the mage, Law, the martial artist, Kisara, the guardswoman, Dohalim, didn't Bandai Namco run a poll for most popular character in Arise? I have a sort of vague memory, and did he win it? I'm not sure, let me know. He looks most striking, is all I can say. The following pages contain some CG art and settings. Just looking at the images of the world makes me really want to dive into this luscious looking world. There's someone called the Black Knight. And more character artwork. It seems there is a cat in the game. For all you cat lovers out there, he looks to have a mind of his own. And that is the end piece. There isn't room for all the boxes in this world. That was Tales of Arise unboxing a very large box that arrived at Chateau Food for Dogs after some adventures and most unexpectedly after all. Am I glad I did get it? I am absolutely thrilled to have it. Thank you so much to the crew at my local EB, Vaughan and everybody else. Special thank you. You go the extra mile and I really appreciate it. I will talk a bit about the game once I have had some time with it. As you know by now, I do not rush these things. There are plenty of channels out there that do a great job giving you release day or just after coverage of the games, especially JRPGs. There are some absolutely incredible, hard-working, excellent channels out there. I do different types of videos. I know you guys appreciate me giving my particular point of view on games, and it doesn't really matter when it happens, whether it's months or even years after a game releases. I will do it when I'm ready and when I've got something hopefully interesting to say. I really do want to cover a lot more Tales games because they have a special place in my heart, starting with the ones on the PS3. And all I can say is I'll do my best. As always, please keep well. I'm Food for Dogs. Bye-bye.